today we are going to unbox this. It's already on me, but together in honor of another history episode in Green Packer territory. Yes, we did it. This is my first NFL merch. Merch. Also, this is pretty cool art. Shout out to whoever made this art. Okay, the Ranis Revolution, Bilaspur 1839 to 1840, published in the Asian Borderlands series by Dr. Arik Moran. I think I've covered one of his chapters before, and the book is really all over the place. But if you like Himachali culture, I think you'll get into it because we are living in multiverses in Pahari history. So that's the thing that really draws me towards this topic. The magisterial history of the Punjab Hills, Hutchinson and Fogel, summarizes the events that follow Karak Chand's death in a few short paragraphs regarding the reign of his successor, Raja Jagat Chand. Karak Chand died heirless, and on hearing of his death, Mian Jagat Chand came and performed the funeral rites. Notice was sent to the political agent at Ambala, and he came at once. He was informed that there was no direct heir, and none of the widow Ranis was enceinte. After full inquiry, in the presence of the Rajas of Sirmaur and Hindur, the political agent reported to the government in favor of Jagat Chand, and he was duly installed in April 1839. Two of Karak Chand's Rani's twin sisters were from Sirmaur and had returned to that state on Jagat Chand's accession. Sometime later, it was given out that the younger Rani was pregnant, and the fact had been concealed from fear of Jagat Chand. A son was said to have been born in November of the same year. Jagat Chand affirmed that the child was surreptitious. The Ranis then returned to Bilaspur with an army, furnished by the Raja of Sirmaur and a force from Suket to claim the throne, Gaddi, to claim the throne. The officials and army officers of the state deserted Jagat Chand and went over to the other side, and he had no alternative but to flee to Hindur to save his life. Information was sent to the political agent, who came with a force and, after inquiry, dispersed the part opposed to Jagat Chand and restored him to power. This is from Hutchinson and Fogel, 1999, originally written in 1933. Delivered in the factual language of imperial historiography, this summary of the events belies its author's internalization of the discourse of Pahari Rajput rule. So this is like the main thesis of this book, this discourse. The elder and younger Sirmauri widows, reduced to twin sisters, advance fictitious claims that disrupt the rule of law, while order is restored by a seemingly neutral bureaucrat, thereby rescuing Bilaspur from the darkest page in its history. Abbasi says hi. Jack says hi. Archived communications from the time suggest that the actual state of affairs was slightly more complex. The inherent volatility of succession notwithstanding, the prospect of gaining control of Karak Chand's minimally regulated frontier state spurred a competition between the Raja of Sirmaur and his sisters and the Mians and their Handuri ally. Blind to the Sirmauri party's extensive interests in Bilaspur, the political agent failed to account for the pivotal role Rajputnis had traditionally played in regional politics. palpably evident in the careers of the regent Rani Nagardev Katochi, Karak Chand's grandmother, and the Guleri Rani of Sirmaur, Fateh Prakash's mother. The Sirmori sisters were the third generation of politically powerful Rajputanis in a land transformed by a quarter century of British rule. In the months that followed, the freshly widowed Ranis and their brother, the model prince of Nahan, devised a series of stratagems for regaining Bilaspur that culminated in its physical conquest by way of an armed revolution. As the archived correspondences reveal, these maneuvers began to take shape almost immediately after the Kaluria's death, not to be mistaken with Kaluria. And there are a lot of Hindi versions of the similar timeline. You can find it when you look for Bilaspur. And there are other regions in India that's also Bilaspur, so make sure you look up Himachal Pradesh. After confirming that Karg Chand left no heirs, the political agent garnered support from the Pahari leadership to declare Mian Jangi Chand the incumbent Raja. Unable to attend the Raja Tilaka coronation ceremony due to the intensification of the Afghan campaign, Kandahar was conquered that April. The agent entrusted its execution to the Rajas of Handur and Sirmaur. Then, slightly over 70, Raja Ram Saran Handuria, born 1766, was the most senior of the Pahari monarchs and an esteemed partner of the East India Company, having excelled as the foremost of its allies in the hills in the early days of the Anglo-Gurkha War. That is why you need to be born early to take advantage of certain situations. In granting Fateh Prakash Sirmoria an equal footing in the event, the agent signaled the significantly younger ruler's likely succession to leadership of the collective of mountain kings and simultaneously rewarded his earlier efforts by giving him a say in Bilaspur's future. Germany says hello. Guten Tag. Cameron says hi. Who are you talking to? I am talking to the live. I'm not with any physical person or cat. If you want to give me a cat, leave a comment in the comment section. However, when the rulers of the hills convened for the ceremony, Fateh Prakash unexpectedly withdrew his support of the candidate and called for his elder sister to assume the throne instead. The coronation was summarily postponed. The invitees dispersed, and the agent at Ambala began negotiating with his Sirmori ally to effect a compromise. Things happen behind closed doors, guys. Okay, advised that the childless Rani could under no circumstances lead the state, the Samoria proposed Mian Sher Singh be crowned instead. The proposal was not entirely baseless. For Sher Singh hailed from the eldest branch of the Ajmeriya Mians and was thus Dalyan's successor. I had to look this word up, Dalyan, by right of birth. However, by leading the struggle against Karg Chand in the 1830s, Jangi Chand had superseded Sher Singh, becoming the Dalyan by merit, a position ratified in the genealogical chart. Dang. His amended proposal denied, the Simoria turned to slander, claiming Jangi was colluding with the Raja of Handur to expel the widows from their quarters in order to seize all goods belonging to their husbands. Sensing a crisis of some proportions unfolding, the agent ordered the Handuria ally to resolve differences with the Sirmoria, who still lingered in his widowed sister's kingdom. 5 days later, the elderly Handuria wrote back with his assessment of the condition of things at Bilaspur. On the one side, there are people and the Mians. All were for the succession of Mian Jangi, and I cordially agree with them. as his succession will be the preservation of the territory and happiness of the people. In the fraternity of Ajmeriya Mians, the ministry does not divert from this opinion, but Raja Fateh Purgash and his sisters appear to have other views, and such would cause maladministration of the affairs of the Raj and dissensions among the Mians and ministers. I consider Mian Jangi the heir to this Raj, for he is the Dalyan, except him none has a right. Faithful to his candidate, the Handuriya presented Fateh Prakash and his sisters as irrational objectors to the agreed course of succession. His reading of the condition of things was, however, only partly true, for in fact, the Kaluria's sudden death had left several groups, Rohilas, Sodhis, and others, bereft of patronage, and their erstwhile masters' enemies' assumption of power was a direct threat to their interests. The Raja of Sirmaur's fickleness is indicative of the shift in the political climate, and concerned a concrete dispute over his sister's holdings in Bilaspur, which their husbands now had given and his chosen successor now denied. That the Handurias claims that subjects, nobles, and ministers had united behind the EIC's chosen successor was but partly true was revealed in a petition from the unprotected widows of Kalur that reached the agent 2 days later. We wish this country to be taken by the British government or given to us, or to share Singh of the biologically senior branch of the Ajmeriya Mians. Jangi, the Dalyan, or his cousin, have no right to it, according to the justice, is Sher Singh's right. But let it be the company's, and let us go and reside and pray at some holy place, as they with evil charms killed our husband. So they're saying somebody did BM to kill their husband. Ask the tantric practitioner Halabi Baksh. He is therefore in imprisonment in a fort. Send for him and inquire. We will never consent to the succession of Jangi or his cousin. We have none but you for a protector. If you give the Raj to them, send a chuprasi to carry us away. We will go to Benares. There we will live and pray. Deviously widowed through black magic, the Ranis claimed to have fallen victim to sinister elements that had penetrated the Kaluri court through their late husband's opponents. With adherence to Dharma, their sole motivation, the widows merely sought justice by ensuring that power was handed to the real successor of the kingdom. Despite its emotive appeal, the clerk rejected the Rani's demands, which were all too similar to the claims earlier advanced by the petitioner's brother. The rift between the Rajas of Handur and Sirmaur and his sisters attests to the considerable stakes involved. While the parties resolved their differences in the short term by extending the widow's jagirs, the tensions erupted. Convening in Bilaspur less than 2 months after the death of the Rajas joined ministers of several other Rajput states in the hills. However, as soon as the investiture had concluded, the Sirmauria began fuming once again, accusing Jangi of tampering with his sister's holdings, and stormed out of the ground in a fit of all humors, surrounded the residence of the widows with his own armed followers, and carried them off from Bilaspur unto his own territories. As Fateh Prakash resumed residence in Nahan, his sisters took a secluded tract in the northwestern mountains of Sirmaur, whence they came up with the ultimate plan for reclaiming their husband's kingdom. A month later, the political agent passed through Bilaspur on his way back from Lahore to inspect the vigorous administration he believed to have been instated by Mian Jangi, now Raja Jagat Chand. What he found instead was a town abuzz with the rumors that the younger Sirmori Rani was pregnant. Although everywhere regarded as a palpable fraud, the rumors had clearly undermined the efficacy and legitimacy of the new regime. Pressing on toward Ambala, the agent wrote letters to Fateh Prakash, lambasting his persistent meddling in Kaluri affairs, from the inconsistencies surrounding the succession to the latest gambit of his sister's pregnancy. Diplomatically, attributing the scheme to suggestions of evil counsel, the agent underlined the Sirmoria's dishonesty by appending documents from the agency that disproved the supposed pregnancy. These included a document the Ranis had signed shortly after their husband's death, in which they declared that neither of them was pregnant and thus wished to become sati. Dismissing the rumors as ludicrous at best, the clerk concluded in a damning tone, hitherto reserved to the desperate likes of Karak Chand. It was to be regretted you should have entertained the project you at one time did relative to your older sister, and still more to the present one. Such conduct may involve you in unpleasant consequences, my friend. You have been entirely raised and fostered by the British government. Beware, therefore, how you lend yourself to schemes offending the welfare of the ancient family of Kalur, its ally, at a time when its affairs are just beginning to prosper. Abstain from espousing any spurious claim and cultivate a continuous of mutual goodwill and reconciliation of all differences with Raja Jagat Chand. The agent's didactic criticism hints at the difficulty he must have experienced in condemning an ally whom he had extolled as an exemplar of Rajput tradition only a year before. The accusations once leveled at Karak Chand were now directed at his brother-in-law, whose hosting of his sister in a retired village in his own mountains was decried as contrary to Rajput usages, even were she not likely to give birth to an heir. The ease with which the paragon of progressive rule came to be recast as a villain attests to the potency of official discourse. Rather than question his interruption of political relations and implement the shifts in policy that it implied, Clerk simply stripped the Raja of his positive attributes and marked him an enemy of progress instead.